Eshes Chaim.
אשת חיל נמצא, ורחוק לפנים נכרע. פתח בלב בעלה, ושדה לא יחסר. מלאך הוא, טוב ולא רע, כל ימי חייה. דרשה צמר ופשתים, בטט בחפץ קבע. הייתה קוניות סוחר, ממרחק תביא לחמה. ותקם בעוד לילה, ותיתן תרת ביתה, וחוק לנערותיה. זרמה שדה ותכחר, מפרי כפיה, נטעה כרם. חגרה בעוז מותניה, ותאמת זרועותיה. טעמה כי טוב שכרה, לא יכפה בלילה נערה. ידיעה שלך בקישור, וכפיה תמכו כבר לך. כפה פרסה לעני, וידיעה שלך לאביון. לא תירא לביתה משלג, כי כל ביתה לבושנים. מרבדים עשתה לה, שש ואגמן לבושה. נודע בשערים בעלה, בשבתו עם זקני הארץ. סדין עשתה ותמכור, וחגים נתנה לכנענים. עוז ועדה לבושה, ותשחק ליום אחרון. היא עבדך בחוכמה, בתורת חסד על לשונה. צופיה לאכול ביתה, ולחם עצלות לא תאכל. כמה בניה ויאשרוה, בעלה ויהללה. רבות בנות עשו חיל, ואת עלית על כולנה. שקר החן והבל היופי, אישה יראת אדוני היא תדלל, תנו לנו מפרי ידיה, ועלו בשערים מעשיה.
Five of the grandchildren would like to speak. And they'll be speaking in this order: Udi and Shami, Scott, Jared, and Rachel.
Grandma, this past Sunday, we all had the uncomfortable and surreal opportunity to say our final goodbyes. It was about us, not you. But today, your Levaya, it is about you. And the Gemara tells us that the funeral is in honor of the departed. The Zohar adds that when a person passes away, their neshama can still hear every word we say for the first 30 days before it begins to ascend to Shemayim. So I would like to say just a few words, knowing you are hearing me and listening to me. Grandma, I would like to start by comparing you to Sarah Imenu. Sarah Imenu lived a long life. The Torah comments that her years were kulam shavim latova. Her years were all equally good, despite any adversity which she had encountered. Sarah Imenu always had a positive attitude and outlook. Grandma, you also had a richas yamin, and also had a positive attitude and outlook on your life. Grandma, your famous phrase, "It's going to be all right," which I and many of you heard throughout our lives, is the phrase that we all need to hear right now. In every dark moment, you would see the light at the end of the tunnel, because in your mind, the glass was always half full. Last night, organizing my thoughts and memories, and even now, standing here in front of you, is very difficult. But throughout, I can still hear you say, "It's going to be all right." And Grandma, at the end, you were always right. It was always right. And even if it wasn't, you made us feel like it was going to be all right. Your calm and stabilizing presence, along with your endless positivity, seem to make us all feel secure and grounded throughout our lives, along with your drive to move forward no matter the circumstances. It is only appropriate today to expound on these specific midos through my own experiences with you growing up. The stories which you used to share with us, whether about your brothers or sisters or on any topic, were always positive. You always had a story. There were many. I am named after your mother, And as a child, I always asked you to repeat the same stories over and over about her. And as you repeated the story, it might have sounded the same to you, but each nuance made it a new story for me. And patiently, you continued to grant my request and repeat the story as I learned about my namesake. When you spoke about your mother, it was evident how proud you were of all of her accomplishments. You told me that you had wanted to go to medical school. However, your mother didn't approve, and you listened to her. Showing and giving respect for a parent is not always easy, especially when it conflicts with our own dreams. And yet you knew your priorities and respected her wishes, and you moved on with your life. And I have never forgotten that lesson of respect. You even taught me simple lessons about the importance about brushing my teeth. I must have been about 6 or 7, and once went to sleep without brushing my teeth. And instead of telling me what to do, you decided to tell me a story about teeth. From then on, I can't ever fall asleep without brushing my teeth, and have repeated the story to my own children. You always had plenty of patience for children, and we always enjoyed your company. Even babies enjoyed being in your company, as you sang and played with them. We all enjoyed listening to you and being in your presence. You see, even though we lived in many places, you and Grandpa always managed to be in our lives as you visited us often. And as I got older, I began to visit you frequently in Florida. I also saw your patience and how you provided stability and calmness for Grandpa. You always supported and helped Grandpa whatever he was doing, and you never complained. You made the best of every situation. You lived in many places, some for a brief period until you settled in Florida, and at times it wasn't easy. But you would say, it will be all right, and it was. The way you treated your customers in the flea market always made them want to come back, even if it was only to say hello and not just to buy a pair of jeans. I remember many times observing your endless patience, how you spoke with the customers. You made each customer feel special, as if they were your only customer for that day. But I knew and saw all the long, hard hours you would work. And that same need of stability and calmness was even felt by your customers. Our long walks, talks, healthy lunch, and restaurants for dinner were always the highlights of my visits, as you instilled in me the security that I needed. Especially when I entered my teenage years and my parents divorced. Your stability is what I needed the most. I relied on you and Grandpa to help me through it. I always knew I had a place in your home, and that you would be there daily to give me anything I needed and wanted during my stay. I would frequently creep into your bed at night, and you would rub my legs to comfort me. Your motto was always to bring me up when I was down. This positivity, along with your stability, is why I needed to fly to Florida so frequently. And that sense of stability that you gave me when I needed it the most saved me and my ability to raise my own stable family. Your outlook was always consistent with your talks. Take what you can get out of life. Move forward. You did not let the challenges of life stop you from living. To see and watch how you handle your many challenges, and you did have many challenges, was a learning experience for me, including starting to become forgetful at a younger age than most. But you dealt with it head on. You kept a diary, and you wrote down everything that had occurred each day, and that diary became a referral source for your failing memory. Once, when you visited me in Israel, one of your sweaters or jackets were stolen, but it just didn't bother you like it would bother most people. You accepted what occurred, and you just moved on. Grandma, we can't forget your cooking, another aspect of stability, which was felt by all of us. Every dish you made was a delicacy and has been passed down over the years to your children, grandchildren, as we tried to copy the recipes for our own family. Apple cake, stuffed cabbage, roast, breast of veal, split pea soup, or just to name a few, and you never followed a recipe exactly, yet it always came out just right. When we would visit, you always knew which recipe each of your children or grandchildren would like, and you would have it prepared for us. Your house was always open to whoever wanted to come. You created this warm and stable environment in your home, which we all try to emulate today. We had the privilege of having you alone and with Grandpa in the later years in our home. To be able to show even this little amount of gratitude to you in our home was a gift that Howie and I and our children will be forever grateful. Basically, Grandma, your stability, calmness, and positivity didn't allow adversity to affect you in your life the way it affects most people. You always took what God gave you and dealt with the good times and the struggles on the same level, always moving forward. And this is what I will try to emulate in my own life. As I said in the beginning, the Gemara technically does say that the funeral is for the mace. But I realized as my thoughts for this speech came together today that it is also about us. It is about what we can learn from you, Grandma, and how we can perpetuate your midos in our own lives. Easiest is just to say, it's going to be all right. On Sunday, when I went back the last time to say goodbye, your eyes were open since you were eating. I asked for mechila, and you seemed to nod your head yes. Thank you, Grandma and Aunt Leslie, for that moment. Today at your Levaya, I ask you again, on behalf of Howie, Michal, Morty, Cyril, Bela, Rivka, and Esther for mechila, and I hope that your neshama has an aliyah as it joins Grandpa and Aunt Sandy, and as our teaser of mourning continue to fill our own souls. I love you, Grandma.
I've been spared. I've never had to speak at a funeral before. Usually my oldest sister has been solely responsible. So there I was jotting down notes, and my mind is blank. Where do all those memories go? How does that happen? Do we think we don't need to remember because it will always be there? And so I stopped focusing on memories and I thought, how did Grandma make me feel? And obviously I'm going to probably echo many of my sister's words because she made us all feel the same. Comfortable, always comfortable, warm, safe. If she was stressed or agitated, we never knew. And hardworking, always very hardworking. And then the memories came. Shamsul, she always called me Shamsul. In Arizona, I was so young, but that's my first memory of walks with Grandma. We'll all talk, I'm sure, about our walks with Grandma. Always on the move, pointing out the lizards, the plants, telling stories, holding your hand. Florida, the flea market, picking out special treats. And in her kitchen, I'm sure we're all going to talk about her delicious cooking, pea soup, apple cake, and then more walks around the lake. Visits in New Orleans and then St. Louis, holidays in Brisket, and walks around the reservoir, walks around the neighborhood. And I did some counts, and I'm not even sure I got this all right. Thank God our family grows. But at a quick pass, five children, 19 grandchildren, not including spouses, and I think over 50 great grandchildren and a few more that we know about on the way. And the family still grows, and that's truly, truly incredible. Something also to note, for the last many decades, Grandma and Grandpa's children have gathered and cared for their parents in a way that truly exemplifies Kibbutz Avim. They have set an example for us all, and on behalf of my family and all the grandchildren, we are so grateful for all of you having taken care of our grandparents that way. Honestly, we may all be so blessed to leave this world and go into the next as Grandma did, so gracefully, with dignity, and surrounded by love. So Friday nights, like most homes, we sing Eshes Chayil. And my kids and I and our family have a way on this verse to exaggerate the words in a way that has become quite the next tradition. And I'll spare you my singing, but I certainly will hear this verse a bit differently going forward, as it sang to me when I read it last night, and we'll lift our voices to Grandma when we say this. Pia Pascha B'chachma V'soras Chesed Al Lishona Tzifia Halichos Beisev Lechem Asuk L'Sochel Kamu B'nei B'Yishua B'alei B'Yhaila Rabba Panasas Chayo V'Achtali Takuana. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and a lesson of kindness is on her tongue. She looks after the conduct of her household and never tastes the bread of laziness. Her children rise up and make her happy. Her husband praises her. Many women have excelled, but you excel them all. I love you, Grandma.
Watch the way you go. 5 simple words, but these 5 words meant so much. You were not just a mom, sister, aunt, grandmother, great-grandmother to one, but rather you were all of them and more to everyone. You had a quiet way about you. You made sure everyone was okay, taken care of. You made sure everybody ate. You got such enjoyment watching people eat your food. The problem was, though, you never ate with everybody. You would only take a little bit at the end. We spent a lot of time together. You were there when my mom took me home and helped take care of me. You never stopped taking care of me. One Shabbos, I was at your apartment when I was young, on 167th, while my parents and grandpa were working at the market. I must have been 7 or 8 years old. I needed my medicine, which we left at our apartment, but that was no big deal for you, Grandma. We walked, and we walked, and we walked, and it was the best walk of my memory in my life. Because it might sound like 20 blocks, must have been 5 miles. I don't know how many hours, I don't really care. But you took me to get my medicine, and I climbed through the window of my house. That's just what Grandma did. You were there through it all for me. The good, the bad, and the really scary times. You were there for me in the market. You held my hand in the ER in the hospital as they stitched up my chin. It was busted open with blood pouring out, and I was in so much pain, telling me, it's going to be all right. You made me the best egg salad sandwiches for lunch each weekend. Thanks for not forcing me to eat fish. You told me it was okay to play under the Shabbos table when I was a kid. Thank you for being my bank over the summer so I can save up without telling anybody. There's been a lot more bonding, stories told, memories made, and time shared over your food than anyone will ever be able to remember, and it's all because of you. Shami and I even polished off an apple cake and who knows how much milk talking one day. I can remember. When you and Grandpa used to come to California, I would call you and you'd say, Scotty, what do you want? You'd let me put in my order. And Ira and I, sure enough, would go to the airport to pick you up, and Grandpa. And this would happen every time. And Ira would say, Scotty, just stay in the car. I'll go get them. And as Ira goes to the gate to pick him up, and he's walking out, and I'm watching, Ira's cheeks are bulging, chomping down. Grandma and Grandpa are walking behind him. His mouth is full, crumbs dripping down his chin, as he's shoving the last frozen kreplach into his mouth. Was I mad? No. Because I knew in that bag she had 6 apple cakes waiting for me. She knew how to take care of all of us. Thank you for being my mom's best friend and helping her through her life with all her challenges through the years. Watching you and Grandpa deal with her and your pain when she was sick was just as painful to watch. I'm so sorry you went through that. No parent should ever have to experience what you and Grandpa went through. Thank you for being the first person I saw when my dad passed. The look in your eyes and the expression on your face is what's burnt into my memory for the rest of my life. And I'm so glad that is you that I remember, because it gives me comfort. Watch the way you go. That was something you told everyone when they left you. Simple words that meant so much. It was your way of telling that person you love them, you cared for them, you were concerned about them. It was truly a heartfelt goodbye. Grandma, now that you're in heaven, I pray that you watch over all of us, whichever way we go.
Grandma, it fits great. That was something that you'd like to say when I was younger and I would visit the flea market. And you took care of me and you made sure that I was comfortable. I remember a time when there was a man who came into your store, and he happened to be a professional football player, and he couldn't find a jean that fit. So instead of letting the man leave, you spent all this time trying to find the right pair of jeans, until finally he tried the jeans on and they fit. He was happier than ever. I remember I asked you, how did you get that? Why was he so happy? And you said to me, well, his thighs were wider and they were women's jeans and they fit him. And I said, did you tell him that they were women's jeans? She said, no. She said, it fit him, it was a perfect fit. And one of the things that I think about, Grandma, is that when I used to come over your house, you were always that perfect fit for me, for Rachel, for Jenna, for Brooke. I found myself, I still eat noodles and ketchup. And a lot of times people wonder why. And this past Sunday I was eating it, and I remembered every time you came to me, you gave it to me, and I didn't like it in the beginning. You said it'll fill you up. Grandma, one of the things that you've given to all of us and to me, and I'm grateful for, is that selflessness. You gave, but you never took. And it's shown in this whole room by everybody around. I will miss you, Grandma. But there's one thing I'd like to say to you, that yes, you made sure everything fit with everybody else. You made sure they were comfortable and happy, but you were our perfect fit. And now I know that Grandpa is calling your name like he usually does, B. And now you and Grandpa can be, and Aunt Sandy will be up there together, and we'll watch all of us try to make the perfect fit that you taught us so well. I love you, Grandma. Thank you.
A close friend of mine was visiting this past Shabbos lunch, and myself and Kiwi and Dad and Jenna, Sam and Brooke were all at the table in deep conversation. And she says, every family has something that they talk about at the table, a topic that is always discussed. And then she asked, is your family always about food? I said, you're right. We talk about the menu, then we rate the dishes as we're eating them, then we discuss them afterwards. We pretty much always talk about food at the table, amongst other topics, of course, but food takes the prize. That discussion didn't mean much to me then as it did when I was deciding what to write for this morning. What am I going to say? How do I sum up an entire childhood with Grandma? How do I share all the memories in such a short time? And then it came to me, food. Sure, I can tell you about the trips to the flea market, or how we used to take long walks by the lake, or how she used to give the best back scratches. But really everyone who knew Grandma knew she was the best cook ever. Apple cake, chopped liver, kreplach, gefilte fish, split pea soup with the flanken, salmon croquettes, just to name a few. We as kids would go to her house, and we would eat. She'd come to us and visit, and she'd make us dinner. She always had one piece of something left in the fridge. That's what I remember. It's not that our relationship was only about the food. It was that she was always looking to please us, no matter how time-consuming or even how difficult it eventually became to cook. She would just enlist Grandpa and do it. So certainly, it's no surprise that we talk about food a lot. It was certainly a legacy that she left behind. To be as good in the kitchen as she is certainly a trait that I can aspire to. And I know my father has already mastered being in the kitchen. I saw Grandma get weaker over the years, especially after Grandpa died. And it's hard to see such a frail woman, one who in my memories was so physically fit that a rainstorm wouldn't stop her from walking. It was even hard to look at her in her final days. But this past Sunday, I saw something quite special. My 9-year-old daughter, Kayla, was sitting at her bedside, and I was sitting next to her, and she didn't want to leave, so I was forced to sit there and really, really stare into her eyes. And she looked so peaceful, even though she was in so much pain. She was moving around, but then she would stop and she'd sit still until she had to move around again. It was almost as if she didn't want Kayla to see how much pain she was in. Once again, looking to please someone else, no matter how difficult it was for her. Me and Kayla will remember that moment forever. And my Aunt Leslie made that moment possible. She is the reason why Grandma was able to hold on for so long. She possesses the same traits that my grandmother had. She puts everyone first, and that is what she did for Grandma. She also makes the best banana cake. So thank you. I will conclude with the following lyrics from a song that I know Grandma loved. Did you ever know that you're my hero and everything I would like to be? I can fly higher than an eagle because you are the wind beneath my wings.
My sister-in-law Carol will now speak, followed by my sister Leslie.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mom. Carol. Your daughter. Okay. Just this Sunday, we all gathered together to honor our mother, our grandmother, our great-grandmother, at Leslie's house for her 95th birthday. We weren't really sure she was 95th, but that's what the cake said, so we went with it. Today we gathered together to honor her memory, your memory, and your wonderful legacy. What a difference 3 days make. Mom, your legacy spans generations with 18 grandchildren and 51 plus counting great-grandchildren and many wonderful memories. And when I tried to put my thoughts together, I went on and on and on, 20 pages plus, but I was under duress by one of my children to make it short, so I will. Mom was very talented, you're very talented, and we all remember her famous apple cake and homemade chopped liver and gefilte fish and stuffed eel, Jeff, your favorite. And everyone probably thinks that Grandpa was the maven in the flea market, but we know differently. Because the real maven was Grandma. She could size you up, put you in a pair of Jordan jeans before you could say how much. She was great. Mom excelled in school and impressed her teachers so much that she was granted a scholarship to college. She wanted to be a doctor, a feat that 70 plus years ago was very difficult to make. Her plans for college were abandoned when her mother found out that some classes might be held on Friday, and she respected her wishes. Mom then diverted her energies in finding a job and eventually being courted by Dad. Mom was quite a looker, and Dad asked her out, along with a lot of other people, but she liked Dad and accepted his watch, and the rest was history. Mom held her beauty and her grace all of her life, keeping her tiny frame slim and trim, while always asking everyone for face cream to take her wrinkles away. I remember she would sit for an hour and skim the fat off the chicken soup, because she didn't want that fat in her chicken soup. Mom settled into her mother's and wife's role, following Dad around the country, the many places they lived, not only raising her 5 kids, but raising my children as well. We're all very blessed to have them in Florida. They were always available to help meals, carpool, dental appointments, doctor's appointments. I left my keys at home, can you pick me up? Whatever we needed. In fact, when we would call and I would say, hi Mom, she'd say, what can I do? How can I help you? Do you want me over there? We all remember opening her fridge on Sheridan and finding that salmon croquette and that little margarine container, that flat lemon lime soda, and broccoli and mashed potatoes were a staple in their house. Mom even convinced Dad to go out at 10 o'clock one night to buy Brooke some ice cream. They kept their grandparents' pictures on the visor of their blue Cadillac. And Mom never had any enemies because she never spoke badly about anyone. When I was first introduced to Mom and Dad, they showed such a tremendous wealth of warmth and caring. I remember when I walked in, and most of you know my history, there was never the proverbial, so what's your father do? Where do you come from? Where'd you go to school? There was none of that. They accepted me as Howard's friend. Even when I asked for a glass of milk, after Thanksgiving dinner, there was not a blink, anything in the house. They just very, very quietly got me a milk dairy cup, and I had my coffee and my milk. It was incredible. You'd like to say that they broke the mold when Mom was born, but when I look around this room and hear the love and the caring and the warmth that she emulated and you shared with everyone, I can see goodness and love in everybody. And we are all the beneficiaries of your goodness and your love, Mom. Leslie's devotion to Mom these last many years, 5 years plus, leave this legacy. This legacy lives in each and every one of us that she touched. And although one might think that this eulogy is for us, it's for you, Mom. It's for you. And we'd like to take this opportunity, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for everything that you've given me and how you've impacted our lives. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Carol, Jared, Rachel, Hootie, Scotty, for speaking so beautifully about Mom. And if I repeat myself, it's because we probably all feel the same way. Mom was the gentle, quiet, loving strength in our family. As Dad supported us, Mom kept the peace, never needing the limelight. She was forgiving and disliked sadness, arguments. She would never intentionally hurt anyone, and if she did, it would hurt her more. She loved all her children the same, but differently, properly, fairly, no favorites. She was a righteous mom. She was an amazing, loving mother, letting her children grow up and learn independently with trust and confidence. She believed in us, respected us for who we were, unconditional love. Was always there for us. She put her children before herself. She loved to warm our cold hands and her cold ones, if necessary. She was a loyal and loving wife. If she ever got mad at our dad, no one would ever know it. There was no jealousy in her. There was never any lashon hara. She respected the Shabbos, and whenever she sang, her eyes would open wide, and she loved making people happy. She felt terrible for the unfortunate and joy for the fortunate. She always respected, cared for, and kept the peace with all of her in-laws. Whenever I had a new baby, she came to help me, and she also loved playing with my older ones, and in the future, my grandchildren. She had great patience and love, and she had such fun. Like everyone else said, she loved to cook, bake. She motivated me to my banana bread. Shabbos delicacies, old and new, delicious, mostly in anticipation of everyone enjoying her products. That's what she loved most of all. As she was making them, she would imagine people eating them, and so she got such joy in it. She got a kick out of saving also. She loved a good challenge. She loved a good challenge every day, whether it was selling jeans, whether it was how fast she could walk, how much she could raise for a charity. Her motto was, and I'm hoping to pass this on down to my grandchildren, make the most of what you have. Be grateful for what you have and make the most of it. She disliked waste. She had so much life in her. She fought so hard to live, and at the end, every last bit of her was used up in the most positive of ways. There was no waste. When she was gone, she was really gone, and there was no waste. Finally, at the end, she was so tired. Her very strong, sweet heart went to sleep. She was trusting, caring, genuine, down to earth. She was the last of her generation, yet first in my heart. She was Nacious Chayil, and now she's our guardian angel. I kept it good until now, Mom.
You did.
So, I think Mom would want me to quote you this from her heart. If she could say something, I think she'd want to say this. So I made this for her, because she would want, this is her talking. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and one is gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I'd love you to be my friend. My husband and children are like my holy friends. This is my mother talking. My husband and children are like my holy friends, who mean everything to me. So my final wish is for everyone to forgive, love, and like each other forever. It's shown by, see? Your daughter Sandy, your husband, your sisters Shirley and Ray. Lucky you. Even though we'll miss her like crazy, now she's all yours. Take care of her. Like she took care of us.
It's very hard saying goodbye to any loved one who passes away, but to a mother, to a person who bore you, nurtured you, kissed your cuts and bruises, caressed you when you were sad, held you when you were tired, cried and prayed for you, laughed and danced for you. Mom, it's so hard to say goodbye. Last Sunday, when we all got together to celebrate what would have been your 95th birthday, it was Leslie's idea, and it was a good one. We did debate, should we wait until her real birthday, which is the beginning of November. But perhaps somewhat prescient, Leslie and Howie felt that we ought not to wait. And we all came. It was a celebration of her life. It's hard to know whether she was aware of what was happening. She wasn't able to stay long in the room. But the presence of so many of her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren spoke volumes about the great legacy that she and Dad created. A few of us spoke, but even then we knew, unspoken though it was, that that Sunday was also a silent farewell. And so it was. Mom gave us one more day, and then quietly, early Tuesday morning, with no one around, how like her not to disturb, not to want to disturb anyone, she slipped away. Like the Gemara tells us about the great ones, when the neshama parts from such a body, it's like a hair lifted from milk, painlessly, softly, and Mom was gone. Like Dad, Mom was the last one in her family. And Shirley and Uncle Louie, Aunt Ray and Uncle Herman. My sister-in-law Robin Schulzen once said in another context, and now it's just us. Dor holech v'dor ba, and now it's just us, Leslie, Howie, Ira, and me. When Dad passed away some 3.5 years ago, we almost lost Mom, right on the beginning of the Shiva. And since then, I guess being aware of the fragility of life, especially with Mom, I've been thinking about her. And what would I say if I got the phone call that she was gone? And my thoughts settled on one idea, Mom's name. In Yiddish, it's Basha. But after some research, apparently, it translates into the Hebrew as Basya. Basha, Basya. Who was Basya? She was Bas Paro. She was the daughter of Paro. Why was she given this name? So the Medrash tells us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Basya Bas Paro, Moshe lo hayo benech, v'karos oso benech. Moshe was not your son, but you called him your son. Afat. So you. Lo at biti, vani korei otach biti. I'm going to call you my daughter. What did Basya do? Well, on one morning, she reached out to save a poor, abandoned, crying baby. And as the Gemara tells us, miraculously, her arm elongated. Nis'archa amas yoda v'higia adateva. She didn't know the identity of that baby. She She just saw Hinei Nar Bocher Batach Molalov. A baby was crying and she had mercy for him. And something happened. She reached out and became more than herself. She extended, pushed herself beyond herself, and saved the boy. And in that act, she redefined herself. Her self-definition was not confined, limited to just her own needs and wants. She suddenly became about others. And in that moment, she earned the name Basya. She became a daughter of God. What does it mean to be a Basya, a daughter of God? To emulate him, to reflect his midos, his attributes, to identify with him. And so I'd like to spend a few moments talking about Mom, our Basya, our Basya, on 3 levels. She was a daughter of God because she was a giver, a giver. What does it mean to be a giver? It means more than just being nice and kind. It means that you live to serve, to help, to contribute, to step out of your ego when your greatest fulfillment is in making a difference in someone else's life. That's what it means to be a giver. You extend your arm and magic happens. Other people benefit. Others have spoken about, we speak about Mom as a giver, so we think about her giving us food, and this certainly became a singular and signature definition of who she was. She was always giving, stipping, eat mein Kind. And Howie and I sort of made a list. We made some about 18 different platonic dishes that were identified with Mom. And I thought I would leave out the beef liver. Beef liver was not one of my favorites. And I was younger, she would always make me drink this raw egg because she felt it would help. Mom, forgive me, Mom, I never really liked that.
You were the only one she gave it
But the one thing about Mom was that she didn't eat with us. She always ate after. And she always ate a little bit. I remember just a little piece of bread and cottage cheese, and that was enough. At the Pesach Seder, she just wasn't at the table. She was busy in the kitchen till I told her she had a halachic obligation to be there for part of the Seder. But it was about giving, and she showed her love by cooking for us and making these so special dishes that forever, forever, we identify those dishes with Mom. She ate last, but she was always first. Mom was also a very forgiving person. You know, when I would visit with Mom, I would ask her questions because I wanted to get quotes. I wanted certain things to stay with me. And in one conversation, she said something like this to me. She says, people can be forgiven because they don't hear and don't listen. Everyone has to have a chance to correct a mistake, a wrong. Mom was always forgiving. She never held a grudge. She always saw the good side. Kosher lichos, noach lirtzos, as it says in Pirkei Avos. Mom was a pious woman, like her mother, Yitamachla, pious woman. To be a giver also means to be attentive, to be present, as my brother would say, with other people. Mom's hearing began to go, and we got her hearing aids, and she refused to put the hearing aids on. And I remember one conversation, I said, Mom, why don't you put the hearing aids on? And she said this to me, she said, I can hear those close to me. I can hear those close to me. I saw a depth of meaning in that phrase the more I thought about it. Yep, those close to me. She didn't need a hearing aid to hear her children, the babies, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. She didn't need a hearing aid to experience the joys and to help with the failures and to worry. She heard it all. She didn't need a hearing aid. I remember in St. Louis, Yaakov Moshe would like to just look at football cards, one after another, that Dad always used to buy him. And he wanted Ma, he called her Ma, to sit next to him, and he would go one football card after another, and Ma just sat there, listening to him read the football cards. That's what it means to give. To give also means to sacrifice for what's important. Udi mentioned, and my mother told me this, my mother wanted to be a doctor, but when she started attending college and she saw she'd have to go to class on Shabbos, so her mother said, nope, that's not something you can do. And she listened to Bobby, and she didn't go to college. She wanted me to be a doctor, and she always sat me in front of the television to watch Dr. Kildare, but that was one wish. That was one wish that I did not fulfill for her. She said, speaking about sacrifice, the one quote that I must have mentioned many times, it always stays with me. She said, when I once asked her, what was the best thing you did for us, Mom? And she said as follows, when you came home, I was home. When you came home, I was home. She was always home. She was always home for us. You know, when someone is about other people, when someone is always concerned about other people's feelings, then it's no wonder that Mom never spoke Lashon Hara, that Mom never complained, that she always had a good word for somebody. And Dad loved that about her. I can't remember how many times Dad said, you know, he told us, he said, without Mom, he said, I'd be nothing. He said, no one else could ever have put up with me if it weren't for your mother. That's how special she was. The second level of Basya, to be a daughter of God, is to be someone who connects with God on a religious level. And Mom was a deeply religious person. She used to say, I mean, what does it mean? It means Mom took it to another level. Mom wanted to be God's protector. She wanted to stick up for him. She wanted to defend him. I remember, I said, what do you think God wants of us? Expecting some very, very interesting answer. And Mom surprised me by saying, you know what God wants of us? To stop bothering him so much. She said, give God a break. Give God a break. Because that's how she was. She never wanted to bother anybody. Give God a break. Stop bothering him so much. The picture of Mom lighting the Shabbos and Yontif candles will stay with us always. I remember growing up, Mom kicking us out of the kitchen when she had a kasha, the liver, or she had a kasha, the chicken, warning us that if we stepped in the kitchen, you know, we would fortrape everything. Memories still remain. Bracha Tova tells me that in St. Louis, when Mom and Dad would come, and Mom would sit next to her, and she came to shul to daven. She came to shul to daven. Sometimes she couldn't find a place. And Bracha would tell me how much she enjoyed helping Mom find a place in the siddur and helping her along. She wanted to say each and every word. Another quote from Mom, whatever God wants of me, I'm in his hands. Remember when it came time for Mom's birthday, and we said, Mom, what do you want? What was her, what did she, Mom, what do you want? I don't want any presents, just be good. I don't want any presents, just be good. Because those values meant everything to Mom, and thank God she was able to pass it on to all of us. The final meaning of Batya, to be a daughter of God, means to build a home which can invite in someone very special. You know, thinking about Mom, I never really thought about it much when she was alive, but thinking about her now, there was something holy about Mom. There's something radiated through her, something luminous, sort of sacred regalness. We came to experience something with Mom. You build a bayis nema, you build a house, a bas, a beit, car, a house for Hashem. And then a presence enters. The mother Shekhinah. Trailing behind her daughter is the Shekhinah. When you watch Mom, you almost sense something greater was happening. You almost felt elevated to another reality. Mom, in her modest, humble way, the princess, the daughter, the queen Shekhinah, the mother Shekhinah was always close by. And we felt caressed and comforted and loved and inspired. Look, did we always feel it? Did we feel it in the kitchen when Mom would give us her famous grilled cheese sandwich, or at night doing our homework and then watching Mom just sitting there looking at us? Probably not. But now we know, and we're going to miss it. Mom wouldn't be here if it weren't for the love and care that Howie and Carol showed to Mom and Dad when they were in Florida. And in particular, there's no question that without Leslie and Ephraim, and Leslie, who took care of Mom, I mean, it's hard to put in words how a daughter can love and care for a mother the way Leslie cared for Mom. Mom never would have made it to this point without that love and that attention. And I know it was difficult. And I know I speak for Howie and Ira in telling Leslie and Ephraim how indebted we are for those many, many years that, Leslie, you gave us with Mom because of what you did. We're at the end of Elul, and the Medrash tells us that the Shekhinah comes down, the Balatanya, the Shekhinah comes down, and it's in the fields. God is more accessible now than he is any other time of the year. But I'd like to say something else in that sense. Sometimes the Shekhinah comes down, Mother Shekhinah comes down, searching for her daughter, for her Basya. It's like Mother Shekhinah says, I need you now. It's a new year. I need you to plead and help me to forgive and to love and inspire and redeem my people, my world. The Shekhinah searches for her daughter, Basya, our Basha, our Mom. So God has you now, Mom, but we lost you. For us, Mom, we're not okay. You're with Dad and Sandy and Bobby and Zaida, but we're not okay. We're bereft. We have you in our memories. It's not enough. Not enough. You are everything a mother could ever be to us and more. We pray that we can only do for our children, give our children and grandchildren and beyond what you and Dad gave us and did for us. Ma, you know, there's a song, Ma, that we always used to sing together, and it was your song. We made it your song, and I want to sing it. because Bamir bist du schein, Bamir aus dich ein, Bamir bist du Teil und die Welt. I could say Bella, 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 say wunderbar. Each language owns me tell you how grand you are. I'll try to explain. Bamir bist du schön. Bamir bist du tired und the Welt. No more beautiful, Ma, more precious than you. Die nicht Masad Rur Mitzrachai. Son-in-law, Howie Franklin, said he'd come home.
Keep this recording and stop and have a when they do keep it.
מורי רחמים, שוכן במרומים, עמסי מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה, ומעלות קדושים מטהרים כזוהר הרקיע מזירים, את נשמס, בשו, פס יתמחלה, שהלכו לעולמה, שעצמו שנודים סקל בארץ קורס נשמסה, בגדידן תהדן נפסה, לכם על הרחמים יסתריה דסייסה כנפיו לעולמים, ביצרו בצר החיים את נשמסה, אדוני ינוח הבשר ותנוח המשכבך ושומרו ואמר אמן.
TV Sam. Scott, Jared. Jacobshoven. Yeshiva will be at my sister's home, 300 Briarcliff in Teaneck. Minyan this evening is at 6:45 p.m. and in the morning 7 a.m. And next week, the Minyan in the evening will be at 6:35 p.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Shmuley, can Shmuley come up?